Hello and welcome to the All About X-Men Comics podcast. We've got recaps and review of recently released X-Men titles, as well as previews for upcoming books. Please keep in mind this does of course mean spoilers, and this is somewhat an adult show. What's the old tag? Not safe for work. I'm host Scorpio Moon, longtime X-Men fan, bit of a lapsed fan, but returning to the fold. And hosting with me is...
Johnny Alpha, yeah, X-Men fan for life.
Diving right into the good stuff, Uncanny X-Men number 12 is our first book up. This week's edition of Battle of the Atom. In case you need to be caught up on the whole event completely, basically Beast used a time portal to show Cyclops just how far he's fallen by bringing the original Cyclops back into our timeline, and now the original X-Men team are stuck in the present. Well, they're not stuck, but some of them sure as shit don't want to go home, seeing as, well, you know how they end up. Battle lines are being drawn everywhere as different mutants agree or disagree on how to handle the situation, and when we last left the event, young Jean and Scott went seeking asylum with Cyclops' Uncanny X-Men. We start this issue with a little S.H.I.E.L.D. interlude. I guess can you call it an interlude if it's in the beginning? I mean, I guess it's in the middle of the event, or...
I think it really helped to put this event in the perspective of the greater Marvel. Just Maria Hill's little wig out about Hank McCoy and how Wolverine got the bad rap, but Hank McCoy's the real psycho in the X universe. I really got a kick out of the intro to this book. So I don't know if it's an interlude, but like I said, I think it just plays into showing how the rest of the Marvel universe sees this event. Just like, oh my god, will these fucking mutants ever stop this shit?
Yeah, anytime you get compared to Wolverine as a negative or look worse in comparison compared to Wolverine, yeah, that was not really a good sign. I guess your look was a little more optimistic than mine. Like, I kind of read that, I was like, damn, I guess S.H.I.E.L.D. just has to be in everything because of the show. But no, I mean, yeah, events have a greater tie-in all over the Marvel Universe. Maybe it's not just that S.H.I.E.L.D. has to show up in almost everything. So here they are, tracking a temporal disturbance. Like you said, Maria Hill immediately knows to blame Beast, and describes him as more of a loose cannon than even Wolverine. She's also having stress dreams about the X-Men blowing up the moon, which just made me crack up.
For real.
Oh yeah, and Dazzler is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. Expect her and the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. to enter the fray on the side of send them back sometime soon, right?
That's totally where I saw this was going, because I think it was issue 8 where Dazzler showed up in Uncanny under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s behalf already. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they were going to be relaunching that ideal of it. I just was wondering when.
And the Cuckoos do a hive mind memory download, basically so we can catch every character up to speed with minimal exposition. And because, well, quite frankly, that would be easier if you can do that. And the debate begins again. And that really is the majority of this book. It's debate all over the place. Cyclops and his team debate. We've also got debate with the hybrid future X-Men track down Jean Grey and Scott task force that we have. And if I can say debate one more time, not let it slip into a masturbate joke, I'll be so fucking proud of myself.
And you couldn't do it. You had to just point it out and just ruin your flow. So there you go. But, I mean, yeah, dude, the debates were classic. I really loved Kitty Pryde arguing with herself. That was epic. And then I loved the end resolution of this. Emma Frost was just so down, send him back. I don't want to even look at Jean Grey. And then the future X-Men get there, and she sees there's a powerful Jean Grey in a Zorn costume, and then that whole thing goes out the window, and she's ready to bitch fight. It was epic, dude. I loved it.
Man, I actually thought the worst reasoning went to Kitty, though. I mean, look, I get being suspicious, like, we've been all over that one, but come on, I mean, this whole idea of they should be able to live their lives the way they want. I mean, we're not talking about them smoking pot or wearing black lipstick and being goths. I mean, this is life and death stuff, not just, teenagers should be free to be themselves. And I would say the best reasoning, though, has to go to Cyclops. He puts it so simply, it's just, they're mutants who need help, so we'll help them. We're X-Men, and that's what we do. Beautiful.
I think the person that's had the best reasoning since All New X-Men started is probably Old Angel. young Angel from the past, man. He's known, dude, like, we're not supposed to be here, I'm scared. Look at how crazy we are. Let's go home, guys, And they keep brainwashing him and freezing him in time so he forgets what he's thinking about. But I really think that, like, they should have followed his instincts from the get-go. Young Dr. McCoy, he's just so thrilled to be looking at everything. Cyclops will do anything that Jean Grey tells him to. That's the only reason why he's staying. And Bobby Drake, he's along for the ride, you know what I mean? As long as he gets to do his one-liners. And I think he kind of likes hanging out with his present self, even though he's a little freaked out when he first saw him. But everybody knows that they have to go back. I mean, even Jean in her selfishness knows that she has to go back. She just doesn't want to. And that's the crux of this entire thing. And even if they'll go back after this big Battle of the Atom, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not. I mean, All New X-Men is probably one of the top books going right now, so we'll see where this takes it. Hilarious issue, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. Assuming that you just send them back, like, what does the all-new X-Men become? I mean, that's kind of like what's defined the book. A couple other things of note here. I think Magneto acts as the voice of the reader, or at least for me as a reader, for a second when he points out that we still have no explanation as to what's so bad that happens if the X-Men stay.
Yeah, that was a great point, too. Exactly. Oh, you're so much better if you don't know your future. And it's like, well, you guys are flipped out because we showed these guys our future. Now you're treating us worse than we've treated them, but like, oh, we'll believe you. Except for Kitty and Rachel. They're the only ones that are, like, on the X side that see through this. And I don't know, I kind of really enjoyed the new Uncanny X-Men, like Gold Balls and fucking Tempest and Triage, them sitting back there watching the grown-ups talk and just kind of come up with their own little scenarios and their own little jokes about it. I thought that was one of my favorite parts of the issue, too.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. One thing I didn't enjoy as much, or at least I'm still kind of iffy on, I mean, I get Jean wearing the Zorn helmet to contain her massive power, or, whatever's going on there, but why in blue perfect fucking hell would she also take on the name? Because they call her by the name Zorn.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they would go with that route, because there's a lot of history there, bad history, so... I mean, that's all going to come out in the wash. I think that's the big reveal of why they shouldn't be trusting these new... I mean, they got Deadpool running around with them. That's... I mean, I love Wade, but he's never going to be gold team material, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely not. Definitely not. The scene where Cyclops and, like, his group, like, they all kind of split up to do some thinking. Like, there was some serious thinking here. Like, they're all standing on, like, their own little edge of the cliff, like, making their important decisions. It almost kind of reminded that scene in, Attack of the Sith. Wait, no, that's not a movie. In Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin's kind of, like, looking over the Coruscant or whatever, and, like, Padme's kind of looking out, and they're both having these, like serious, deep, like, thoughtful moments, trying to, like, figure out what to do.
I mean, you knew that Scott was going to say we should protect him, and you knew Emma was going to bag on him for it, but, man, some of the jokes that ensued about her telling him he shouldn't think with his dick and stuff, I don't know, I wish you would have compared it to something cooler than Revenge of the Sith, personally, but, yeah. It was a pretty intense moment, and it was very well drawn. And of course, yeah, the youngsters sitting around watching them be all provocative and thoughtful and, like, them joking around about it really kind of kept it X-Men, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the different points of view of the X-Men, seeing the X-Men through different eyes. I don't know, maybe I'll edit out the Revenge of the Sith thing, I don't know, that was just something that came to mind. And yeah, you talk about those great lines, the idea that Cyclops loves himself.
Yeah.
More than anything else, like, there's just so much about Cyclops, and you go, I mean, that was also really spot on, that's something I've been thinking for a long time. I was so glad to have that line in there. But I'll bring it to the end, I mean, even Emma sees, like, Jesus Christ, y'all keep attacking these kids. So she decides to step in and challenges future Jean Grey / Zorn, whatever you want to call her. They're gonna fight. That's our cliffhanger.
Bring it on, man. Like, I hope Emma wins, personally, but pretty sure she will.
Well, I mean, is that even a fair fight? I mean, you've got Jean Grey at, like, beyond the height of her power, almost, that she has to wear this funky-ass helmet to contain it. And Emma still has her powers all out of whack from the Phoenix Force.
Yes, but she has the cuckoos.
Is that cheating if she uses the cuckoos?
I've always thought of the cuckoos as like an extension of her anyways, so... And I figured there's no way that she was going to fight on her own. I mean, even if she said she was going to, them creepy little girls would work their magic.
Yeah, even if she says she's going to, she's Emma. She's been a villain for how long? That's kind of the whole point of this team of X-Men.
I feel bad for her because she wore the good guy thing so long, and I don't even think she wanted to go back to being a villain. She just followed Scott again. You know, and I'm pretty sure she would have put the white on and went back to either school if she was given a chance. But, you know, like the beginning of All New X-Men, she gets broke out of the truck. She gets his little sanctimonious speech of how, you know, he needs to make it up and stuff. And she loves the poor bastard, you know what I mean? I feel bad for her. Like, I guess Cyclops is the only mutant with a working penis in the universe. Because all these girls are always gaga for him. I mean, even some of the new ones, like Tempest, wants him, you know what I mean? It's just like, man, what is this, 94 again? But it's how it's always been in X-Men.
Talk about a twist of fate, man. Emma Frost following Cyclops into villainhood. So, Uncanny X-Men number 12. Do you want to go thumbs up or thumbs down? Skip it or buy it?
Thumbs up. And yeah, I'd have to say get it, man, because just like everything else in this event, it's going so well. I expected the fight to actually be going on in this book. It was still another setup book for the fight that's going to be ensuing, but I don't know. It was really good, you know. Like you said, it brought perspective. It showed things through some more people's eyes, and this is going to be a very, very changing event for the X-Men, more so than I thought it was going to be. I figured it was just going to be the first event to start off these new books, you know, kind of just a cheeseball thing, but they're really making this thing out to be poignant, you know what I mean? It's going to be a game changer for the X-Men until, like, at least they reboot again, you know what I mean? So this is going to be like a wowzer, so I say definitely get this issue.
I'm going to go thumbs up. I'm going to say it's a quality book and I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say that you should skip it, but I feel like, I mean, look, if you're not reading this book, then you're not reading the event, Battle of the Atom. But if there's any book that for some reason you thought maybe you leave it on the shelf to save a couple bucks, this is probably one that you could skip. Like I said, I mean, it's mostly debate. It's a bridge to the next. I don't want to go as far as to say nothing happens, because, you know, there's so many great lines, so many things going on. But if there was one issue from this event so far that I'd say, maybe you could live without it, I'd say it's probably this one.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe just wait for the trade for this to get it, if you don't collect Uncanny issue to issue already.
Or just for our quality recap. Anyway, moving on to Legacy number 17. Legion vs. Cyclops old school style. Legion's thoughts on the nature of fighting kind of drown out everything else. At least for the first few panels, the close-ups are so close that you're not really sure what's punching what, who's going to win the fight. Well, according to Legion, it's not like in the movies with magical knockout punches or whatever. What it all comes down to is who's stronger and can last longer, which is why he basically has his ass handed to him by Cyclops.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And I love the whole, like, without all the Hadoukens and the Super Saiyans, all you ever get down to is stamina. I really like some of the clever one-liners that were put into this. It's a bit more hardcore of an issue than last, or 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was really pretty brutal, and I totally didn't see that ending coming, man. That was a doozy.
Yeah, it felt like a very different style. I love the references to, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but the line from another previous issue, not some mythical battle, not some grand confrontation. That was kind of Magneto's taunt from last issue, where he was kind of saying that, you know, we're not even on the same level, you're just some punk who's about to get trashed, like this is no special moment. But the subtext here is that Cyclops is Xavier's golden boy, favored over even Xavier's own son, and Legion is fighting for his birthright, for the crown back, but also questioning if he's worthy or if he would just lead mutant kind into ruin.
Which, I mean, it seems like, if you read this issue, he already knew his answer. Blindfold and her brother had foreseen this entire event happening, down to how the fight was going to end and exactly what Cyclops would do.
Cyclops looked like strong bad, by the way, with just his mask on and no shirt. And he basically went all, I want to destroy something beautiful, a la Fight Club on Legion's face, until Legion cheats to save his ass. And the other mutants see it, but his power isn't as obvious as Scott's, so when he fires his optic blast, Legion is going, you lose, buddy. But he gets blasted and set flying back into Tempest, and it frees the mutant that fuses people together, and everything goes to shit. And basically we're right back in the situation that the X-Men first showed up to stop, except now amplified by Legion. Blindfold seems willing to kill him, you know, per his request, to end it. Before she can lop off his head, you know, guess who shows up? And this is where it already has kind of dropped the involving other X-Men plot, I kind of think, and it's getting back into storylines and things that Legacy has built up throughout its run.
Yeah, exactly. With Luca and Blindfold. Yeah, that all came out in the second story arc, but they really didn't let on that this was what was going to happen. They kind of kept us in the dark. So, like I said, even though I've been reading, this was kind of, didn't see this exact event happening. So, pretty good twists in it, bro.
Yeah, which makes it all the better. So thumbs up, thumbs down, buy it or skip it.
I'd say thumbs up, but I mean, even though I really like this, I pretty much collected in trade until we started doing this show. Then I started buying the issues, so I really like it, but yeah, get the trade.
I'm gonna go thumbs up too. I don't really have too much to take away from it, but I'm gonna say more buy it. I think there was just too much going on here that I think it's one of those issues where if you want to get into this book, I think it's one that you really have to give a chance. Let's move on now to Ultimate Comics X-Men number 31, one of our alternate universe books. This time the war of how to lead mutant kind is being fought between Jean Grey and Kitty Pryde, and damn did Jean ever lay a big one on Kitty's utopia, poisoning the sentient seed that gives their haven life. It makes Storm's little retaliation Weatherstorm look pale in comparison. Jean has also turned Wolverine's son against Kitty, and although he defected from her camp, he doesn't seem too keen on his assignment to kill Miss Pryde. And by not keen, I mean he won't do it, but his situation is pretty fucked. Or to quote Negan from an issue of The Walking Dead, "You're fucking fucked, you fucking fucker," or something of the sort.
Well, dude, Jimmy is not Wolverine, but he is a total badass when he needs to be. And I don't know if you've been reading World War X, but I mean, honestly, Kitty Pryde trashed a whole bunch of Jean Grey's Zorn soldiers. They're not much. I'm pretty sure Jimmy can take pretty much anything she throws at him. The flying guys are a little tougher, but I mean, Storm and Colossus are trashing those. All he needs to do is get back to Utopia, tell Kitty and Colossus what's going on, and dude, it's gonna. I don't know. I don't really see Jimmy getting hurt, and I don't think Jimmy's going to kill Kitty because there's too much, fornicating history between the two of them. And it's not like he really left under bad circumstances. He just felt unneeded because Kitty had become such a badass that she didn't need him to save her anymore, and he kind of felt neglected in that sense. But he still really likes her, and like he went up, Tian, to talk to Jean to try to get her to leave Kitty alone. Now that's the only reason why he was really there. I don't think he was really down for the cause. So
it's probably not as bad as I made it out to be in that respect. At the same time, I really like to think that when it's an ultimate universe like this, anything can happen. I've got to say though, man, I like this comic. I mean, first of all, if you're a pessimist like me, any dystopian kind of future, anything where shit has gone more wrong for everyone, that whole dark and gritty aspect is going to seem more realistic. So it seems like a cool, more realistic take that still has all the fantastic superpowers. The dialogue is very straightforward and intense. A real no word wasted kind of book. And they're always able to convey what they need to. I mean, if you've never read any issue, you'll still get a vague sense, Rogue was somehow very closely tied to the seed Jean poisoned, but you still feel all the weight of the moment when she refused to deal with Jean to save it. And when Kitty swears to Rogue that she'll make Jean Grey pay for this, it drives it all the rest of the way home. That was probably my favorite exchange from any X book so far this week.
Yeah, because you really thought that maybe Rogue was going to say, yeah, make the deal, sell out, but she's just like, I can't make an informed decision, so I'm going to make an emotional one. Screw the deal, man. Let's fight. And Kitty's just like, yeah, we'll tear them apart. And that's the thing about this book is it's gritty, it's darker. Nothing really ever goes right for these X-Men, but it's always got this tragic optimism to it too. So I think that they'll come out of this fight hurt, but they'll come out the winners no matter what. That's how the book's been since the get-go. Brian Wood is writing this. Like, I know I always talk about how amazing he is, but it's because it's true. He is just a phenomenal writer, and he's got a way with doing these conflicts. I mean, he's really known for doing these kind of unwinnable war books. Like, that's what he got famous for, doing DMZ at Vertigo, and I really like that he's brought that element to X-Men. I mean, I know it's just the Ultimates, but I mean, I'll take what I can get because, like you said, this book it's phenomenal. Just one of the best X books probably ever written, in my opinion.
And in that exchange we were talking about, you have Brian Wood once again writing two females just relating to each other and just doing it so freaking well.
Yeah, I mean, he really has to sit there. So I know he's married. He's got to really just pay attention to the way his wife and her friends talk to each other when they're around and stuff. Because he really can write female characters better than anybody I've ever seen that's not a female themselves.
So Jean Grey really wants to go full-on war with Utopia, and both sides are gearing up for it. But there's an element of international politics, which involves Utopia fighting through diplomacy, which sounds kind of boring when I put it like that, but basically Kitty diffuses or at least slow burns the situation by stepping down as leader and appointing Colossus. So Jean has to change her plan entirely, and the issue ends with her unleashing Wolverine's son on her people, with the idea being to blame his rampage on Utopia, re-strengthening her pretense for war. I mean, this is a really scary world these Ultimate Comics X-Men live in, making this an icy book full of extreme peril.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't have said that better myself.
So you want to go thumbs up or thumbs down, read it or skip it?
Thumbs up all the way. Buy it. If you're not reading Ultimate Comics X-Men, you don't have no idea what you're missing. I mean, it really is. I've read it since Nick Spencer first started, like a year or two ago, and it was great when he did it. Then when Brian Wood took over with the Divided We Fall and the United We Stand, just got so much better. And then we had Reservation X, and now we're here, man. And I can't get enough of this book. Buy it.
Yeah, thumbs up here too. I know sometimes that like reading these alternate versions, I mean, it can be painful to see what they put some of these characters through, but if you're not reading this book, you're really just missing out. Buy it. Switching gears, Wolverine Max number 11. I guess this is also an alternate universe book too, and in this alternate universe type story, Wolverine's discovery of his origins is reimagined to be taking place today. So we're back to things like bare knuckles boxing, steel cage matches for money, mysterious seductresses, phantom menaces pulling his strings from behind the scenes. At this point in the story, dude is just trying to get by, but of course the world can never leave this guy alone. He's doing his best to blend in and fight that itch to pop his claws in every fight, until a hot chick puts a psycho hypno whammy on him that makes his claws impotent, and he gets his ass handed to him without his killer instinct, and he's also being taunted by a mysterious force.
Yeah, you make it sound so much better than it actually was, man. Honestly, I saw this issue as it was reminded me a lot of that crappy movie Never Back Down. Like, he's involved with these backyard fucking MMA fighters, you know, in Vegas, and it's all supposed to be all gritty, and he's like staying in a trailer park, and then, yeah, all of a sudden there's like just this magically beautiful hypnotist, and then, you spend so much of the issue reading about him porking her, and like the allusions to fighting that the writer thinks he's being poignant with putting in. It just was, I don't know, pathetic. Ugly art, too. Just horrible art in that book.
Oh, yeah, the art in that book. I mean, I called that chick hot, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think she's supposed to be. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the sketchy, like, rough, gritty art style here. I mean, especially, like, when I was younger, I would have not even picked up this book, because I would have looked at that and been like, no, I don't really want this. Like, I've always preferred the more clean line styles and, like, you know, big empty spaces filled with color. I mean, maybe that's just me, but art like this just always looks so unfinished. I mean, I think it is a good old-fashioned, rough, gritty Wolverine story. I mean, for guys like us, we've read this 100 times. I mean, I guess maybe in some ways I'm glad that they're doing this currently, so, like, maybe people who weren't exposed to old-style Wolverine can kind of read it, but yeah, between you and I, we're just not going to have that much to say about this. Thumbs up or thumbs down, man?
Thumbs down, man. I'm not a big MMA fan. I know that they did this issue to cater to people that are like, oh, look, he fight in an octagon. It like UFC, you know? And I know that there's millions of people out there. I'm in Oklahoma right now. I go to the store and all I see is people wearing crappy MMA shirts. So, I mean, like, that's really pathetic that this book is supposed to be some gritty, badass version of Wolverine comic and they have to rely on cheap stunts like having him fight in the octagon. Thumbs way down. Dude, skip this shit.
Yeah, thumbs more or less at best level for me as far as the quality of this book in general. I think this issue was a step up, though. I mean, if I can kind of ignore what I didn't like about the story before it, I guess I could enjoy this. If you want to see Wolverine fight and fuck a bit, I mean, I guess go for it. But with...
Right.
But, gratefully moving on. Cable and X-Force number 14. They say comics aren't really for kids anymore, but some of them sure feel like they're written with a younger generation in mind, especially when your characters say things like sup and true story. I guess it works for Hope, though, who describes her future self as a crazy pants she-strife. Both versions actually kind of have this, like, kind of femma bitchy attitude, but I like it. Cable's X-Force here has pretty much been painted as bad guys, and Havoc's Avengers are tasked with bringing them in. Alex has Cable held in a locked room in the Avengers mansion. Meanwhile, X-Force, who has come to rescue him, and the Avengers duke it out on the front lawn. Hope is on a little future jaunt where she learns from her older self that she has to go back in time and stab Cable in the brain with a scimitar to release the crazy build-up in power that they caused. It's kind of a bigger version of what they did in issue 2, but it works, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I really like this book. I mean, it really started off a little more grittier and adult-toned. But yeah, this issue, I don't know, Dr. Nemesis and Domino riding the Dune Worm and all the jokes between him and Forge when they're in the van, and he's just like, well, I can make a... Okay, dude, that's your worst idea you've come up with all day, you know? I'm going to kick you out of my van if we don't get destroyed first. I mean, all that stuff was really hilarious. It was a fun little issue, but I really wish it would have gotten back to the hardcoreness that the first arc of this book had, and I'm not really liking the new art in this book either. They're gotten back to drawing Cable with the big stupid arms and shit again. I hate that look. And I was just starting to think he looked good, but aside from that, it was a good issue. And like you said, I really liked they tried to tween up Hope, you know, try to make her talk like somebody on the Disney Channel or something. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like, I don't like my Cable exaggerated. I like him taken more seriously. And the fight is basically window dressing. I mean, it's fun. And like you said, even includes a Dune reference. And in conclusion, Alex agrees to let Cable off with a head start because he's seen the same future vision now and thinks Cable is right. I mean, will he convince the rest of his Avengers? Or just let them keep chasing from behind? I guess that remains to be seen. But between that and having his brain fixed, Cable should be much more free to pursue his mission. And damn, man, does Hope have an ass that won't quit or what?
You know, I didn't notice. You know, she's written like a 13-year-old, so I think of her that way, and I don't objectify her. As long as Domino and Boom Boom were in the issue too, you know, like I was looking at them more because I know they're drawn of age. Marvel needs to quit going all Japanese with it and having fucking girls that are supposed to be 15 years old drawn all hot, you know, like in anime. It's kind of creepy. But aside from that, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I'll have to look again and think about it as like one of them guys that likes Miley Cyrus or something.
Yeah, that's actually that's a perfect one to bring up because you're talking about like the tween Disney Channel connection or whatever, and then you know now Miley Cyrus was like the big thing in the news for the foam finger or whatever the fuck she did on MTV. I don't know. I'm not really as much all into that. And yeah, I hope I'm not like going too far into objectifying a teenager or something like that. But I mean, at least for the sake of critical analysis here. I mean, for Christ's fucking sake, she has one well-defined behind in this comic.
Got some junk in the trunk, yeah. Most X-Men girls do. She just wants to compete with Psylocke and shit, I guess, man.
Hey, I think that's actually kind of a trend in this book too. But let's move on to Savage Wolverine number 8, where Wolverine and Elektra have been tricked into helping the Kingpin against an insurrection within the Hand, which he now runs. I mean, at least Elektra has been tricked. I mean, Wolverine was pretty much along for the ride, no matter what. But right now, they're both in the clutches of these demonic-looking Arbiter guys, who are all about sin and judgment and exposing your soul and whatnot. You know, they reach into his mind and awaken the beast within, and Wolverine returns a serious beating to this monster who had tore him up in the previous issue, but stopped short of killing it. This whole arc began with Wolverine almost losing his cool on an Avengers mission and needing a release, so he jumped at a chance to go do some killing with Elektra. But like I mentioned last week, there's this idea of painting him as very much in the middle, like not totally an evolved man, but feeling less like the killer, which is perfect because it just makes him feel even more guilty.
Yeah. And this book is probably the best Wolverine book I've read. Of course, it's gotten one of the more sillier storylines. Like you said, it's way out there with the Arbiter guys and the ninjas and everything, but I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with it. It wasn't they weren't really trying to focus on Wolverine evolving. It was more actually just Wolverine classic, except for him holding back. I think in the past Wolverine would have probably killed dude, but I mean, like you said, they're bringing the character around in all of these books. I just like that they did it so much less in this issue. And the art, dude, the art was just so gorgeous in it. I mean, it reminded me kind of an Image book, the way the art looks, so I really liked that aspect of it.
Yeah, everyone was all big and hulky, I mean, at least especially Wolverine. At the end of it all, Elektra admits that she would have made an even worse choice in Wolverine's position, and runs off to indulge in it even further. More or less the same with Kingpin, who had to watch his wife die again, and is even more cemented as a villain. And while Wolverine has won a moral victory of sorts, he feels so shitty about himself that he thinks Spider-Man would make good company.
As long as he's quiet, you know? And which is really hard for Pete at the end. He keeps trying to talk, where it's like, I said quietly. Yeah, that really left the book on a nice note, I thought.
Oh yeah, that was a very good scene. I enjoyed that. This would have made a great October issue. Everything is just dark, depressing. It's all dungeons and chains. The whole issue reeks of death. I mean, it's not a feel-good story at all. I mean, I liked it. I'm glad I read it. It was classic Wolverine. But there's no reason this had to take place so far out of continuity that they place it as far back as like an older Avengers tale. I mean, even so old that it's got Peter Parker's Spider-Man. The setup idea is so perfect, showing how being a full-on, good guy with an Avengers ID card and everything is wearing so hard on Wolverine's nerves. The killer within is screaming to get out, especially in all these combat situations. So now he jumps at the chance for a quick little timeout, killing vacation with Elektra. But this is perfect shit to explore in his current setting and really move the character somewhere. I mean, they even include a note that this is an old story and say, don't worry about continuity. And honestly, I often don't worry about continuity because I just want to read something good. But it's almost like they reversed the problem. Because this story doesn't need to be outside of current events to make sense or to work. In fact, this is exactly what current events need.
Exactly. That was what I was going to add, but you jumped on it. This is actually what the other Wolverine comic books should actually probably be covering more than, oh, look, he's losing his powers again.
Yep, so thumbs up or thumbs down, skip it or buy it.
Thumbs up. It's going to make a nice trade. I wouldn't say get the issues, to tell you the truth, but get the trade. You won't regret it. It'll be a nice, fun read.
And as for me, I mean, I guess I'll go buy it because I think it was more or less pretty quality. I mean, I'd say buy it because of what was happening within it, but I've got to give this book a thumbs down because it's just so frustrating. The editorial decision to do it that way, it's just so frustrating how this book needs to be in current continuity, but they're still having an ongoing Wolverine title just take place in the past. Just fuck, man.
That's pretty funny, bro.
Alright, so before we move into the previews, should we maybe take an interlude of our own for one of our segments? Do you want to do the Spike the Punch now?
Yeah, sure. Might as well switch things up a little bit, do different time slots.
Okay, so Spiking the Punch is a segment where we each take a break to add one non-X-Men related title to our recommendations, to recommend a non-X-Men related title to you. And, like we said, to spike the punch, to mix things up a little bit. Johnny Alpha, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, my spiking of the punch, it might be a weird one to pick, but I got this. I was just so excited by all the different things in it. It is the Image Comics What's Next sampler, and it has the preview for Ed Brubaker's Velvet. It's got 2 Rick Remender books, one called Deadly Class, one called Black Science, one by the guy that did I Love Trouble called Rat Queens, Pretty Deadly, and Rocket Girl. And I gotta say, all of these books just look epic. I mean, I cannot wait for these books to actually hit the shelves. Image is just on fire. Each of these just looks so epic. I mean, one's a fantasy tale, Rat Queens. It's going to be have a lot of humor to it. Deadly Class is like a bunch of punk rockers in 1987. Well, not just all punk rockers. There's like a goth girl and all kinds of hipsters and stuff, but they're learning to be assassins, it seems, from what I got from the preview. Pretty Deadly's like this crazy gothic cowboy horror story that looks like it's just going to be insane. Rocket Girl's about a cop that gets sent back, a teenage cop that gets sent back to stop these crazy physicists in 1986 from creating this time paradox. Man, just such a great preview book, just full of shit that I want to read right now. But I have to wait a couple months until most of them come out.
Man, that's a really creative choice. I mean, I gotta say though, I like it, which is actually almost contrary to what you would expect from me. I mean, I talk about this a lot, at least off air, but I just do not have time in my life to read all the comics I want to, but I just can't help myself from always looking out for something new. So something like a sampler book, somewhere to get like a bunch of previews of a bunch of different books, I love things like this. One of the best things though, is that you can download this completely for free on the Image Comics website. You know, you have to make an account with Image Comics, but I mean, you don't have to give them like your credit card or PayPal information, because it's pretty much just for free. So you make the account, and then you can download it on PDF or CBZ or CBR. Like, you know, there's a couple different file options you can have, and you can just totally download it for free. So you're getting like, I don't know, like 40-something pages of comic book reading, basically completely for free.
Yeah, and I mean, it's basically you get about, 5 or 6 pages of each of these books. It really kind of sets the tone, lets you see what you're going to be getting into, and I don't think you'll be let down. I mean, even if you're not looking forward to all of them that are coming out like I am, there's going to be something in this book that will excite you. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I think after looking at this, Velvet at least is probably going to make it onto my wish list. Who knows, you might even see that as a Spike the Punch in itself. And as far as for me, this week I'm going to spike the punch with Thunderbolts number 15. Good old Thunderbolt Ross, who spent his life hunting the Hulk, is now a Red Hulk, and he's put together a paramilitary team of characters consisting of Deadpool, Elektra, Punisher, and Venom. At least that was at the start, there's been a couple more since then, to go after evil with a vengeance, which is pretty similar to the old X-Force idea, which is probably why I like it so much. It's touted as a bit of an Infinity tie-in, kind of like Muddy Avengers. And like that book, it's really still more about what you can do when the Avengers aren't in town. Even though I think the issue after this will be more Infinity tie-in. Honestly, I don't think Thunderbolts is the greatest book. The art in this issue is especially cartoony. It has that very
impossible.
Yeah.
Like impossible, dude. That's what I kept thinking.
Which I mean, it works in some cases, and in some cases it doesn't. I think that one image of the picture of Venom I thought looked really good in that cartoony way.
They lured the first mobsters up to the door. Yeah, that whole gimmick was hilarious, dude. Having Elektra seduce the mobsters so they could find out where these other guys are. And Deadpool with the whole, I'm leaving. I'm going to go get some pizza. I'll meet you guys at the gym. Because I saw this Al Pacino movie and he said the subway's the easiest way to get around New York. So it just was, when it dawns on him that, he was trying to get the devil's advocate, but Venom says the devil's own. He's walking down the street, there's shit blowing up all around him. He just stops and goes, oh, wait a minute. And then all of a sudden it dawns on him that he goes Venom's an idiot. That's a Devil's Own's that movie with Brad Pitt. That moment alone just really cracked me up. The art was a little disappointing, but this issue was hilarious, and I think it might actually tie into Mighty Avengers now that you mention it. I think this is also going to be Thanos and his strike force attacking New York while the Avengers are gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a crossover between the Mighty Avengers and the T-Bolts with these next couple issues.
Which would be pretty cool. I mean, the book is also very simply written. I mean, but funny, like you said, especially with Deadpool and the movie quotes and, things dawning on him, like as laser beams are exploding all around him. He's thinking about, wait, which movie was that? Great writing of Deadpool in this book. I love how Deadpool was handled, at least in this issue. But it's just like fast food to me. I don't expect anything from it, but it's usually kind of satisfying in a quick fix kind of way. With that point of it being simply written, I mean, there are times where, I come home from work really tired, and, I don't want to say I'm forcing myself to read comics, but it's I want to enjoy my free time. But, I'm so burnt out. But that's the kind of time where I reach to Thunderbolts as almost kind of like an icebreaker, just to, get myself into reading, because it's never too much of a strain on the brain.
No, yeah, like you said, dude, the way, especially this new incarnation of the Thunderbolts, it's like Expendables, but with the most violent people you could get from Marvel Comics. So, yeah, it's just violent fun, you know what I mean? Lots of guns, lots of sex jokes, because Deadpool's got that weird attraction to Elektra, but she likes Punisher, so that you got that going on, and I don't know, just like you said, it's just mindless kind of fun, but it's still worth reading.
Yeah, you would never expect the Team of Killers book to be your comic relief issue, but I mean, this is probably my biggest tension breaker of the week. I mean, I guess maybe Cable and X-Force was kind of a little more the funny book, But I mean, outside of that, this is probably my choice to, serve that function.
Well, yeah. I mean, you gotta love it just because you know that what's gonna happen when you put Wade Wilson on a team with Frank Castle. And I just love that he loves to piss the Punisher off as far as he can get him. Every chance that he gets, man. Till the Punisher's like holding a gun to his head. And he's still giving him shit, dude. I love it. So yeah, T-Bolt's rule.
Yeah, and a love triangle with the Punisher, Elektra, and Deadpool. Who the fuck saw that one coming?
Deadpool did. One of his versions did.
So let's move on to our previews. First up is A+X number 12 with Beast and Wonder Man and Captain America and Jubilee. Now, based on what I've seen so far, this book is going to be straight up humor.
Yeah, I mean, why would they have Cap team up with Jubilee? I mean, it's going to be funny. Like, that half of it, I really hate the character Wonder Man. So, I mean, this issue is going to be a little hard for me to get into.
But apparently, I mean, he does have a lot of history with Beast. Not as much so with Captain America and Jubilee. I mean, the only real connection there for me is that Jubilee is a Wolverine sidekick, and Wolverine and Captain America have a lot of history together.
Well, they just wanted to put the soldier with the teenager. It's going to be really just silly, kind of like, I don't know, Terminator 2, but with, Cap instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Jubilee instead of Eddie Furlong is kind of how I see whatever's going to be happening, Yeah,
I mean, it's like you read that book, and, like, I mean, from the beginning, I mean, it's got that snarky introduction, like, right from the get-go. Like, so they never try and take it too serious. I mean, if I'm right, this thing is going to be, like, most of this joke, straight-up humor. But we'll see how much they tie it into ongoing events. That's what I'm really curious to see from A+X number 12.
Well, yeah, I'm not really sure how they're going to do that unless they really sit down and have the whole discussion with Beast and Wonder Man about how Wonder Man feels about the Scarlet Witch. That's the only thing I can really see him tying in with current events. And the Cap and Jubilee thing, like, that's just going to be a joke, man. I don't see how that could really... It's like, the only thing Jubilee's done in the Battle of the Atom, she made the X-Men watch her baby while she took a nap. That's like the only thing she's done so far in this event. So, I mean, I don't really see what she's going to be doing with Cap, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be funny. I'm looking forward to that.
And will one book be enough for those two stories? We'll see. But we also have Gambit number 17, the last issue. Damn, man, we just started this podcast a month ago. And this is pretty much like, coming up next week will be our first full month around, because we're going over the same books again. But I mean, damn, this is the second series to end since we started.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm surprised. Like, big as this fan base is, I never thought that he'd be able to carry on his own title for too long anyways. As sad as that sounds. I mean, he is my favorite X-Men, but, I don't want him to become popular. I don't want him to be like Wolverine, where all the 8-year-olds have glowing fucking throwing cards and stuff like that instead of claws, I mean... Keep Gambit underground, That's cool.
It's like when your favorite band gets too popular, and then you start to like them a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a nice ending point, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't quite make it to 20 issues, And a lot of my favorite comics, they do that, you know what I mean? Like, the Immortal Iron Fist. Yeah, go ahead and end Gambit at around 20, It's a good spot. That meant that he had a nice run, and people liked him enough, but he didn't get trendy. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people bemoan, like, when you start and stop a series, like, too fast or too often or whatever, but, I mean, maybe in some cases it's a good...
Well, what I think really hindered this issue is they really tried to remove it as far from X-Men as they could, and they had him fighting Tombstone and these characters that people aren't used to, and I'm pretty sure people wanted to see, Gambit hanging out with Rogue and Gambit fighting Mr. Sinister, you know what I mean? Because that's his past, and, I'm kind of glad that they tried this, and, like, it's sad that it didn't take off, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy it didn't take off.
Yeah, so maybe we'll actually end up doing that as a celebration. Like when the last book ended, that was kind of somber. Like when we were doing X Factor ending, we were like, oh man, this is sad. But maybe Gambit will celebrate a little bit more. Like, okay, yeah, cool, end of the series, woohoo! But we also have Uncanny Avengers number 12 coming out next week. One of the currents running through this week, I think, has seemed to be the idea of comics being dark. And this is another dark one right here. I mean, at least right now anyway. I mean, last issue was a prelude to battle, but everything about this arc is literally steeped in Armageddon, and I'm looking forward to more of that. The Apocalypse Twins, their Horsemen, Red Skull, Ahab, Kang. Like, this is a really quality lineup of villains for our heroes to square off against. And I mean, is Scarlet Witch really going along with this idea of a new mutant paradise, or is she just playing them? I can't wait to see.
Yeah, me neither. It's going to be brutal. And like you said, I think that with that last issue, we got through all the talking, so this is actually going to be the fight. You know, it's actually going to be going on. Like, Dakin and Wolverine are going to be fighting. Rogue's fighting, Sunfire, and, it's a quality cast they've resurrected people to fight the other heroes, and then you've got the Apocalypse twins taunting Scarlet Witch, not to mention, we still have the Red Skull Onslaught to look forward to coming out sometime in the near future, which I don't even know how hardcore that's going to be. I can't wait to see it.
Okay, so rounding out the week, we will have Wolverine and X-Men number 36, our only Battle of the Atom book for the week. So we're going to get Future Jean versus our current Emma. Will it be a fair fight, like I questioned earlier? I don't know, but if the last issue of Battle of the Atom was a bridge for events within this event, then we should definitely be getting something tasty here.
Well, it's got to start picking up soon, man, because we're almost getting into the second month of this event, and it's only a 2-month-long event. So, I mean, I really hope that they don't save all the fighting for the third act, which I don't think they will. I just really think that they wanted to set this story up so it wasn't just a breeze by, and they actually gained some traction through this event. Like, sometimes they really don't. So I really think that this will be the issue where shit pops off. I just wish it wasn't in Wolverine and the X-Men. I wish it was in a better title, but whatever.
Are you kidding, man? I couldn't be happier. I mean, Wolverine and the X-Men has never been as good since Battle of the Atom came to it.
Yeah, this probably will be the best issue of the book. It's another one where I don't like the art style in it, man. So that's just the reason why I wanted to see this kind of action pop off with a guy that draws Uncanny, man. His shit's just clean. You know what I mean? It's like when they did Messiah Complex, the guy that was drawing New X-Men, his shit was really awful too. You know what I mean? Everybody had like triangle heads and stuff, and I was going through the great art that was in like Uncanny, and the guy that was drawing X-Force, and you get to the new X-Men books, and you're just like, Jesus, how did this make it into this event? But whatever, I'll take what I can get. It's going to be awesome. They always seem to have one of the silly books involved in an event, so I just hope they don't bring the snot monster with them. I hope they keep this fucking within the realms of like what we've seen so far in Battle of the Atom.
Oh man, the snot monster. Man, that was the funny thing about that one issue of Uncanny that we reviewed too. When you had like that really dark art style, but then you've got Gold Balls just going Gold Balls, and his gold shit exploding all over the place. But it still seemed so epic because it was drawn so darkly,
Well, the thing was, this Fabio, he's the only character that's almost that silly. I mean, he's the comic relief of that book. I mean, Triage, he's like the little ladies' man. I mean, he's very serious with his stuff. Tempest is the almost kind of new Jubilee. She's tragic because she always wanted to be like Captain America, but she's stuck with the evil side of the X-Men because they found her first. I mean, I really like a lot of these new characters. And then, Fabio, he, with his Gold Balls, whatever his name's actually going to end up being, I think they're actually going to stick him as Gold Balls. So, yeah, I really like that they brought his character along, and he kind of keeps it, a little fresh, because everybody else is like getting all intense, and he's just like, well, I used to work a hot dog on a stick, and I don't know what the hell's going on here, And you're just like, you poor bastard.
Yeah, he's probably one of my favorite new characters, to be quite honest. I mean, I don't know if it's really because I like him, or because I'm just so amused by that, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
No, I mean, I like all of the new kids in Uncanny. I think that Bendis went out of his way to actually make some quality new X-Men with all of them. I like Triage, I like Tempest, and then Gold Balls. Yeah, they're all awesome.
And of course we actually see them. I mean, how many people have just kind of disappeared into oblivion in the background of the Jean Grey school over in Wolverine and the X-Men?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really don't give a shit about Quentin Quire and his girlfriend all the time. I mean, where the hell is Armor? What's Hisako doing? You know what I mean? Where are the kind of actually cool people that went through the last? Where's Pixie? And Surge? Some of the actually kind of cool people from the last run of Young X-Men. But whatever.
Alright, we're kind of diving a little off topic here. But anyway, do you have a sexy moment to end the week with? A sex moment?
Yeah, I have one and I have a runner-up. I have to go sexiest moment is when Emma Frost just went, whatever, bitch, I'm going to take you on with the Zorn, Jean Grey, and Uncanny X-Men. That was just so fun. And then my runner-up is Kitty Pryde and Ultimate X-Men, the entire book. I mean, just hot, dude. The white zip-up suit, her attitude, just like, I didn't want to kill, but these fuckers, they pissed me off, so we're taking them. And that whole just attitude and everything, sexy. Just so awesome. Like, I would love to have Kitty Pryde protect me.
She had that very nice scene with Rogue, where Rogue is like, got the little boy shorts and the bra on is basically her outfit, which was kind of sexy. One thing I'll say though is, it's not like she's that, clearly defined though. She's obviously wearing, sexy revealing clothing, but it's not like they put so much, close and careful detail in it as to actually make it sexy.
I think it's because she's like a hippie and she's like living up in a tree, and they don't want to draw her with armpit hair and like make her look stinky, like she probably would be in real life, all Lilith Fair looking and shit.
Wow, the second mentioning of Lilith Fair on this podcast, amazing.
So you got one, bro?
Well, actually, yeah. Just let me just say though, I'm really surprised. When I first dreamt up the idea of sexiest moment as a segment, I think maybe I was partially inspired by just the fact that you can put a big X in there. But it's been kind of hard, man. I always thought comics were so just drawn for males and meant to draw male gaze. But we've been doing this podcast for a month now, and every week I've tried to pick out a sexiest moment, but there haven't been as many overtly sexual moments as I expected.
I really think they want to get back to the drama of it. And I guess maybe if you were a chick, you'd find the fighting between Legion and Cyclops sexy because they were both shirtless and they're just all buffing their pants, punching each other. Pretty sure a lot of chicks got into that, but yeah, there was really nothing overtly sexy for dudes except for, I don't know, I find chicks with their especially some of the X-women with their attitudes that, dude, I can just take anything on. I find that sexier than them drawing them in negligee, being ready to take their panties off, you know what I mean? Like we were saying last week, the femininity, it's just, it really gets to me sometimes, and I think that's actually sexier than drawing them sexy.
Definitely, just feminine and fierce and just powerful women, that can be sexy on its own, without just, boom, titties in your face. That was a really good point. I'm almost mad at myself that I didn't bring it up earlier about Legacy 17. Cyclops was drawn as total beefcake. He was bulking and huge and massive muscle. He does not live up to the old nickname Slim at all in that issue.
No, yeah, he was beefcake in the word Spartan. For real. Honestly, that kind of reminded me of, did you ever see the movie Reign of Fire when Christian Bale gets his ass kicked by Matthew McConaughey? I was really just thinking of that scene of that movie when I was reading that comic.
Yes, I'm completely aware of what you're referencing. I think I'll go, though, for my sexy moment. I'll say when Magic decides to disappear towards the middle of the end of Uncanny X-Men number 12.
Yeah, that was weird. She's just I know what happened. Well, you want to tell us? No, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah.
It's okay, well, it must have been bad then, I guess.
Yeah, once again, that's just strong woman telling you what. But also, Magic is generally drawn to be pretty sexy. She strikes a really good pose though. Once again, she's not drawn so well defined as to make it overtly sexy. They're not going out of their way to show hey, here's her tits, here's her beaver or whatever. But it's still just it's a great posing moment. Very sexy, very strong. I think that'll be my sexiest moment of the week.
I think the big sword really helps. Because she's so small in stature, and then she's got that big old Final Fantasy VII sword that she hulks around, and it's pretty hot, I don't know, I get what you mean.
Yeah, and also, having the big sword also makes her look more feminine, because, it's a big phallic thing, and she's a female next to it, but also she's strong enough to wield it, which is worth something on its own.
For real.
Alright, so thank you everyone for tuning in to our All About X-Men Comics podcast. We're planning on doing this again very soon. For Johnny Alpha, I'm Scorpio Moon, signing out.